Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, if you're someone who's looking for something to really add rich content to your students' writing lessons, then today's video is for you. We're going to be looking at scaffolding literacy. Let's learn, share, and teach. Okay, so scaffolding literacy, what is it all about? Well, scaffolding literacy is a teaching method designed to assist students to have better writing learning outcomes through the use of 6 basic strategies or 6 basic steps and engaging texts. It can be used at all levels, from kinder right through to university, to teach students writing, and it was developed by an associate professor at the University of Canberra by the name of Misty Adoniou. She's got a couple of books out there, so check those out as well. Okay, so the first stage or first strategy in the scaffolding literacy model is preparation. Now, in this stage, what happens is the teacher basically determines the intended literacy learning outcomes, and they do that through acknowledging the student's prior learning experiences, also referring to the curriculum outcomes, learning outcomes, also looking at the learning at a text, sentence, and word level relative to the text, and then selecting the text, of course, that they're going to use to study writing. Now, what I'm going to do now is show you some of the preparation that I do in regards to preparing my lessons around the scaffolding literacy model. It's fairly comprehensive, but I'll give you a quick glance at that now, just to give an example. So as you can see down the left-hand side, I've basically got all the different stages, and through the middle I've got the activities that we'll be focusing on, and the content as well. And this is the second page, so it goes right through to the very last stage, which is assessment. After you've done preparation, then you get into the next stage, which is called collecting. Now, this is all about, a lot of it is substantially about the text orientation. Now, the text orientation is basically to ensure that students understand the story so that they can be text participants. Now, the method of doing this is really about providing an oral scaffold into the more difficult written language, using all modes to do that through visual, verbal, and gestural and audio. Then also introducing key vocabulary, which we'll revisit later, and then providing contextual information not explicit in the text to basically lay inferences bare and make it totally clear about what the story is about. Now, when doing the collecting stage, the teacher basically tells the story in their own words, providing background information. Then they go ahead and read the book or excerpt. And then with the class, they'd probably want to go ahead and try and jointly construct a text plan based on the book's text structure. And that would look like something like this. So you can see down there, down the left-hand side, I've got parts of the story, also what the author used in their story, and what could you use, being the student, where they brainstorm their own ideas of how they could do exactly the same sort of format. And then also other observations are down below as well. Now, investigating, this is your next stage that you're going to get into. Now, this is all about the language orientation. Now, the language orientation is where the teacher basically selects an excerpt from the text and goes ahead and then analyzes it even further. Now, the framework of doing this would be to prepare the students through providing some context or lead up to the excerpt that they're going to read or going to look at in more focus. Then they'll identify that excerpt, and then they'll elaborate on that. And elaborating means looking at, well, at each part and saying, okay, what's the meaning of this phrase or word in the context of the text? Also looking at the intention, why did the author choose it? And then also the function, what function does certain parts of the text play in communicating the meaning? And finally, in elaboration, is to talk about the name of that part of the speech. Okay, so let's have a look at an example of a language orientation and the further analysis of the structure of elements in an excerpt that you would normally do with your students, which I'll have right here. Okay, there it is. Yep. So the original excerpt said, because she couldn't be seen, she could be squashed by koalas. Now, as you can see down next to each part of this sentence, we've got an analysis of that part of the sentence. So example, the because is a conjunction used to mark a cause of some situation or state. The she is a pronoun saying who this is about, and then the couldn't be seen is the cause. Then we've got the she again, and that's the who, which is the pronoun, and then finally could be squashed by koalas is the effect or the outcome of the original cause. Then you would go into further investigating through doing something like a word study. Now, word studies are interesting because you can do it in a few different ways. You could basically look at words that are often misspelled by your students. You could do something where you looked at the morphological knowledge of certain words. You could also do something where you looked at the phonological or orthographic knowledge of words, or you can go ahead and look at the etymology at higher levels. Another thing that you can do in investigating is basically go ahead and do transformations. Now, this is all about seeing what happens if you remove key words or rearrange the sentence, and how does that change the meaning of what you're reading. So here's a couple of examples that I've got over here. The first one says, because she couldn't be seen, she could be squashed by koalas. So that's the original text, but let's now change the order of things a little bit. She could be squashed by koalas because she couldn't be seen. So you can see here I've actually just swapped around the cause and effect, and that helps students identify that they can do that as well. And then here's another example of maybe changing things around with this original excerpt. Because she cannot be seen, she is being squashed by koalas. So in this case I've actually just changed the tense, but really it's up to you what you'd like to change or alter to actually teach the students how the meaning of the sentence becomes different. Now on to the next stage. It's all about imitating. Now at this stage we carry on with the language orientation, and we get students to do a writing plan that's built on the excerpt, and students create their own patterned writing from this. So let's have a look at an example of that. So there it is there. As you can see across the top, I've got basically what the author wrote, and then I've got what the purpose of each part was of the excerpt we're really examining. And then I've basically given down the bottom half of this table what you could do with higher students and what you could do with lower students in this case. Note that with the lower students, I'm really just trying to build their language and not so much their writing. But obviously we all know that language works into writing as students move along in their learning. Now, the next part, innovating and distributing. Now, in this stage, students go ahead and do their own independent bit of writing that's built on the structure of the original excerpt that they were looking at. And then you go ahead and assess what they've done, and it's important that when you do this, you provide them with precise and concise feedback, and try and make sure that it's actually really focused in on improvement as well as an individual. That way you can actually manage maybe self-esteem in the sense that the competition's about themselves, them competing against themselves, say a week ago, instead of competing against others, which can sometimes get a bit, crazy. But anyway, now I thought I'd show you this as well. I've put the scaffolding literacy process into a model, visual model, and I'll explain this really quickly. So on the inside, on the wheel on the inside, you've basically got the 6 different stages or strategies that you can use to actually scaffold literacy. And then on the outside wheel, you can actually see, relative to those different 6 stages or strategies, what you can actually do, the activities you can actually do. Excellent. Listen, I hope you found today useful, and yeah, if you like the video, please hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do that as well. And if you're interested in seeing my other videos, just look myself up in YouTube. It's called Mr. K Teaching. Anyway, catch you next time. Have a great day, and I hope that helps you with teaching your writing. Bye, guys.